Mr. Vivek Bhatia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting us.
Vivek, um, it's a pleasure to have you here today in our SAP house at Expo 2020.
Thank you.
It's very nice to meet you, and it's very nice to have you here. But before we dig deep into the discussion, would you mind telling us a little bit more about the company, the market environment, and the competitive in the region?
Conares is one of the largest steel producers in the UAE and has a capacity or a production range of about in excess of about 1 million tons and spread across 3 verticals. So having said that, since there are 3 verticals, each of the product varies in terms of market environment and competitiveness. It varies from being a low-paying commodity to also being a niche required a specialized product by some customers.
So Vivek, why did your company decide to take on the digital transformation journey?
Today, every organization has to be lean and agile. And without digital transformation, I feel it's nearly impossible to be that competitive. Therefore, we are a growing company and digital transformation is in line with our roadmap to the strategy that we have to embrace for the future.
Now, when we come to challenges, what are some of the challenges that are faced by your organization and how do those challenges impact the business?
I guess grabbing opportunities is important for every business. And at the same time, time is essence. In today's era, everything has to be at your fingertips. And similar is the case of the steel industry because the prices are so volatile. Ultimately, not only does every second matter, but it also adds to the cost.
So you highlighted the challenges, you highlighted the impact of those challenges on the business, but how do you overcome those challenges?
I guess every process has to evolve and improve, and we had to embrace industry best practices, some of which also came from SAP. Having access to this real-time data through SAP allowed us to leverage every opportunity that came across our door.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned industry best practices. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by industry best practices and how you are using them?
I think a lot of best practices were got to do with concepts that we had to implement. For example, capacity utilization, purchase, efficient purchase. We use SAP's MRP to optimize that aspect, the make to stock, make to order strategies. So those kind of things were the value additions that were really brought on the table. And ultimately, it leads to efficient utilization of all resources, putting everything together.
Conares, I know, has been using SAP for a while. Can you identify some of the key metrics that your company has seen improvement in after using SAP?
I think there were a lot of metrics that we had to achieve and are still working on so many of them. But we have had inventory that has been turning around quickly. We are seeing cost reduction. We are seeing improved utilization of cash flows. So there are a lot of things that have been addressed, and obviously there's scope of a lot of improvement.
Nice. So every implementation needs a partner to help you with it, because obviously there's no bandwidth for the company to do the implementation on its own. So have you had or have you worked with SAP partners that helped you with the implementations or SAP services, or how have you done these things?
I think an implementation partner is the success of the project or the SAP implementation. Choosing the right partner can make or break the project, and at least the partner adds value to unlock the potential what SAP can offer. But that's a very important decision.
Very interesting insights. Now, when it comes to your journey with SAP, Conares' journey with SAP, can you share a little bit about that journey, where you started and where you are today?
So when we onboarded, I guess it was a few years earlier, we started off with SAP Suite on HANA. I guess. And now we are implementing RISE with SAP. But in line total, putting everything together, I think that's supporting our journey to transition towards the cloud. So I guess that's the future for the digital transformation journey that we have undertaken, at least from the perspective of the ERP.
Especially in the cloud era that we are currently living in. Everybody is going towards the cloud eventually.
Yeah.
Mr. Vivek, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for having us. It's great to always be working with Conares as a company, as an organization, and supporting you towards the best of the solutions that are coming up in the future.
Thank you so much for having us as well. And we look forward to this journey as with SAP to take things forward. Yeah, thank you. Thanks.